Andor is a triumph. And I didn't love Rogue One, the movie that introduced the character of Cassian Andor. A lot of that movie's story was chopped and changed while they were filming, and you could really tell in the final product. In the end, I thought it was a bit of dumb fun with an incredible Darth Vader scene at the climax of the film. But Andor is nothing like that. If anything, you can tell that it is the exact opposite. Every episode, scene, character moment, they've all been thought out in intricate detail. And as the story of the series develops, it's incredible to see all of the different pieces come together. It's like watching someone build an expansive narrative Lego set, and just when you think they're done, that it can't possibly get any bigger or do any more, well, it does. It is truly the best of anything that Star Wars has ever produced. So if you haven't watched it yet, that should be all you need to know. Stop watching this video and go watch the show right now. Right this second. I'll be discussing the plot in broad terms all the way up to episode 9, so you'll only be doing yourself a disservice if you keep watching beyond this point without having seen it. Let's get into it. There is so much here that it's hard to know where to even begin, but I think the best place is where the show totally differentiates itself from the rest of the Star Wars pack. You see, Andor is a series that actually has something to say. Through the lens of a fascistic and industrialist empire, it reflects our own world back at us in a way far more ambitious and much more deeply than any other Star Wars project has ever even attempted. And the mirror it holds up to us isn't a clean, sparkling reflection. It's grimy, sullied by the filth and corruption that makes the Empire just a few shades darker than our own reality. Within the opening moments, we witness police brutality, as well as the show's clear statement that the police exist to protect corporate interests and not people. From there, we discover a corporate and fascist ruling class who live in sanitized and colorless offices. These offices then escalate and militarize those same police forces over and over, all from a small moment that started with an act of self-defense against police brutality. The series shows us that when confronted with such brutality, the only moral stance a community can take is clandestine resistance. The show goes to great lengths to show us that most people in his community don't really like Cassian Andor. He owes most of the money, and he'd rather steal than do a hard day's work. So they're not rising up against the cops because they particularly like the guy. They rise up because in the face of oppression and violent subversion of their own rights, the only moral response is resistance. And this is incomprehensible to the powers above. They scoff at the very idea of the possibility of resistance, and when it happens, they jump to the conclusion that it must be some highly coordinated rebel effort, with pieces moving on a vast chessboard. But the truth that they cannot fathom is that in the face of their so-called order, when people are confronted with an ever more militarized police occupation, those same people's only possible response is resistance. It's not centralized or organized, but it is unified in purpose. We even see the struggle of those who want to coordinate a rebellion through Mon Mothma and Lucan. She understands that there's a broad sentiment of resistance that would be much more effective if organized. But thanks to the corporate police state, she finds it almost impossible to support those efforts. Lucan, meanwhile, tries to gather a group of rebels into a coordinated effort, but their own rivalries get in the way. Meanwhile, the show constantly makes the presence of the Empire felt. That oppressive cloud lingers over the entire galaxy. Andor commits a profound act of rebellion when he takes part in the heist, and he becomes a very wanted man. The ultimate dramatic irony being that he is arrested under a different name just for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Andor, who committed a so-called crime, is technically free in the books of the Empire, but Keith, who was just going out to get groceries, is in jail. When guns and prisons are the only tools given to enforcers of the law, then guns and prisons will inevitably be the only solutions they find to any problem. Even one of a guy being in the wrong place at the wrong time. By the tail end of the series, we see that almost all of the major characters are in prisons. Andor is literally in prison, as Keith. Mon Mothma is trapped in a life and society within which she cannot represent her ideals. And the little corporate incel boy is trapped in his little corporate cubicle without understanding that the reason he's so isolated isn't because of some criminal by the name of Andor, but because of the very system that he idolizes. The show reinforces these self-perpetuating systems of oppression when it reveals that no one actually leaves the Empire's prison. When your time is complete, you're simply moved to another floor and start again. Under that oppression, the only possible reaction is rebellion.
How many guards on each level?
Never more than 12.
I am in awe of this series and of this message. A message I genuinely can't believe got past the Disney corporate goons. But having met a few corporate goons in my time, my guess is they probably just didn't get it. To them, it was just Empire bad, as always. Star Wars has always had broad elements of a message like this. Rebels fighting against a fascist empire, righteous Jedi protecting people against the dominating Sith. But Andor leans in way harder than any Star Wars project so far. It makes it overtly clear that the message of Star Wars is one of resisting against fascist and corporate power, and that it is morally correct of communities to resort to violence when those powers use oppressive violence against them. That message alone makes it incredible. But beyond that, we get strong performances from the entire cast. We get deep and well-built characters who we see struggle across a spectrum of challenges and conflicts. And we get a plot that only gets bigger and bigger as it goes. Andor is by far the best Star Wars story I have ever watched, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. Julian, where have you been? It's probably what you're asking. And the answer is I've been burnt out. Burning out. Like a comet in the atmosphere. No, an asteroid in the atmosphere, not a comet. Yes, working for the man. And honestly, it's your fault. You. Because if you revolutioned like they do on Andor, I wouldn't still have to be working, would you? We'd all just be free. There wouldn't be no man to work for. But here we are. But another way you can help that doesn't involve bloody revolution is to support me on Patreon. Huh? Give me a monthly fee and, if enough of you do that, then I can stop working for the man and work for this man. Bam. And that way, you can expect 24-hour early access to all of my content, with the new video after this one coming in 2 weeks to 6 business months. Within that time frame, there will be a new video. Eh?